Larry London. Welcome to Border Crossings. Today, we welcome a singer-songwriter from Ireland, Ciaran Lavery, who is currently on tour in the U.S. for his new CD, Sweet Decay. Ciaran Lavery was the winner of the Northern Ireland Music Prize for his 2016 album, Let Bad In. During the last 5 years, his music has achieved more than 80 million streams on Spotify. The new CD deals with a variety of subjects, including his own personal struggles with mental health. Ciaran Lavery worked with a collection of accomplished session musicians to create the sounds on his new CD, Sweet Decay. Join us for today's show featuring Ciaran Lavery on Border Crossings. Hi, I'm Larry London, and we welcome you to Border Crossings. Today, we welcome an Irish singer-songwriter who's on tour for his brand new album number 3. It's called Sweet Decay. Ciaran Lavery is here with us from Ireland. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's
nice to have you here in the United States and in Washington, D.C. How's the journey been so far?
It's been okay. I picked up a minivan from the rental company, which was, it's a nice idea if you've got like a 5-piece or 6-piece band, but it's literally just me. So I've done that. I've so much room that I've started just unpacking all of my things and designated, shirts get a seat, shoes get a seat. So I've tried to make a family out of it, but it's all right.
That's great.
Yeah.
How long have you been in the U.S.?
Just a few days on this trip. I'm going to be here for, I think, around just short of 2 weeks altogether. So
Wow. That's not much time.
No, it's really not. It's really not. I do a lot of traveling as well, so I get to see a lot, and I get to be in the comfort of the minivan. So
big vans.
Yeah, I can't complain.
So, Sweet Decay, the name of the third album. It sounds like more something you'd hear in a dental office than an album. Why did you decide to call your album Sweet Decay? What's the story behind this new album?
Well, I guess initially I wanted to go in this time without a general theme. I've always sort of had a theme when I went in to make an album, and anyone who goes in to create an album, you kind of want to have a story or something that people can latch onto by the end of it, and then it's like a movie, or it's like anything. There has to be a start, middle, and end, and a narrative, I guess. But with this, I didn't really want to have anything from the outset that would determine the type of journey that the album would go on. I just kind of wanted to really concentrate on the lyrics and see then where that led me by the end. So as the album went on, I realized that there were kind of themes that kept cropping up to do with either, there's a good amount of death in it, there's a nice amount of darkness and light contrast, and I sort of thought, with that sort of juxtaposition of hope and hopelessness, I had written the title track a long time before, actually, and I just dug it out and I thought, this almost, I can probably prop this up and let the rest of the album just sort of formulate around it. So whenever I'd written the song Sweet Decay, it wasn't with the intention of that being either the name of the album or it even being on the record itself, but I think with the rest of the songs kind of having a very sympathetic I guess message, then it made sense for not only for that to make the album, but also to be the title track and then the name of the record itself. It sort of seemed to sum everything up, I guess.
We've got Ciaran Lavery in our studios, who's here in the United States, promoting a new album. We're going to peel the layers of the onion away and get to learn more about Ciaran and what makes Ciaran tick, and musically, what's the story behind the dark part of this album and the death and all that. But before we get to that, I wanted to ask if you'd do a song for us.
Sure. I'm going to play a track from the record called Wicked Teeth.
All right, Wicked Teeth.
I know you watch me from afar. You've been standing there for days.
Will you wait till I'm alone? Then you'll come take me away. I see you sharpening your claws, and I can feel them in my sleep. And I hear your bated breath, and it's hard against my cheek. But would you sink your wicked teeth? Would you lock your jaws down tight? Would you let my blood run sweet? Take me off into the night. Take me off into the night. I could never stray from you, and you keep me in your sight. But I feel you hesitating. It's like the timing isn't right. But would you sink your wicked teeth? Would you lock your jaws down tight? Would you let my blood run sweet? Take me off into the night. Would you sink your wicked teeth? Would you lock your jaws down tight? Would you let my blood run sweet? Take me off into the night. Take me off into the night.
Very nice. Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Ciaran Lavery's here on Border Crossings. So Wicked Teeth, Sweet Decay. There is a dental theme going on.
There is. There really
There is a dental theme.
I get the dentist as well.
But so, albums, like yours are, first of all, congratulations on all the success. I mean, 80+ million streams in what has been, I guess, a 5-year solo career. You were the band before?
Yeah. I was with the band. I actually didn't realize the first year that I put music up online. It was kind of around that time when there wasn't such a huge focus on Spotify and all of the streaming numbers. So I just kind of threw it up there and forgot about it, thinking, well, it's nice to get it out there in the public eye, and now I can move on and, do the next thing. And my brother-in-law, he kind of tends to keep an eye on exactly what I'm doing. And he contacted me a year later and was like, you've got over 1 million streams on this. Well, I think it was one or two songs. And I thought, I have no idea what Spotify is. You need to tell me. So we had to backtrack the whole thing. And he told me then, and I thought, I just kind of threw that up. That wasn't really with any intention, thinking I'm going to keep my eye on these and watch these numbers now. I think there's a huge focus on that now anyway, that, you talk to a lot of other bands and it's constantly hoping that you'll get on a playlist. I think that's, that's where the first career goal step is, you get on a few playlists and suddenly then, you get that bigger outreach or whatever. But back then, I was just throwing it out there. And
wow.
I really didn't cast the net out and even keep an eye on it. I just kind of cast the net out and walked the other direction. And so it was a nice surprise, and the numbers just kind of keep, going up, which is great.
That's what you want, from a business sense.
Of course.
From an artistic sense, you know, you're satisfied with your product and people come and support your music and you have your fan base and you're satisfied with that as that continues to grow and expand. But from the business side of things, because this is, you know, a business as well, you have to have numbers to measure things by. And by all accounts, 80 million streams is hugely successful.
Yeah, you know, I'm very fortuitous and I'm very grateful of the numbers, because it does open a certain amount of doors, and you can have certain conversations with people that you wouldn't, you know, have necessarily been able to have had with, you know, 3,000 plays. I can't go knocking on people's doors and be like, "Have you seen these figures?"
Right. Hey,
yeah.
Look at my numbers.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, it's been great. I mean, it's just another stamp of approval, really, for me. Yeah, I'm just happy people are listening to it. I guess maybe that's the very generic answer that people would give, but I genuinely am. You know?
And the new album, as I was mentioning, it's really very personal to you, and it makes you very vulnerable, not only as a performer, but as a human being, because a lot of these songs are very personal, come from a personal place.
Yeah. Well, you know, I was thinking about this a few days ago, and I was reading a few other kind of songwriters' interviews. And I mean, it seems to be the general theme as well, that every songwriter is trying to write that album that's going to make them, I guess, almost uncomfortable with the amount of exposure or the amount that they're, you know, that they're showing people, you know, publicly, or you're shining a light on different things. And I guess for me, this was another step that I was starting to look at, you know, like mental health issues. I was starting to look at, you know, different sort of failures and different kind of mistakes that I made, and being able to just say them rather than, you know, rather than bury it. And I guess the thing about being the songwriter and being the person with the pen in their hand is that you can create the narrative and you can create the story. So, you know, I can become the victim as quickly as I can, you know, as I can be the villain in anything. So, and there's a strange amount of power, I guess, in that, you know, I will always have a voice to be able to tell that side of the story, even if it's involved, you know, a few other people or one other person. Mine is the narrative that gets to be heard publicly, which I think I've sort of, over the last maybe year or so, I've become a little bit more sensitive to the fact that, you know, just being able to tell the story as it is, you know, whether or not that whatever that says about me, you know, regardless, it's I guess just being able to tell it is more important to me than trying to come out like, you know, as some sort of hero or you know, some sort of Romeo or whatever.
Well, you would be definitely considered to be in a heroic position, because you're using a very public platform to deliver a very personal message. And so I'm very curious to know, to the extent that you feel comfortable, because you reference in a number of different things I've read, mental health issues. What has been your struggle, your biggest issue that has inspired a lot of this music in the realm of mental health issues? Because I know we get a lot of people talking about depression.
Yeah, of course.
That seems to be the forefront of a lot of people's minds right now, with some of the things that have, unfortunately, the tragedies of Avicii and Chester Bennington and a lot of different artists, you know. And so in terms of your struggles, what can you share with us?
I guess, you know, especially the past couple of years with my career sort of, you know, stepping up, I guess, to another level, there's a certain amount of pressure that I probably didn't realize that was being thrust on me, even in an unintentional way, that I was even putting on myself, you know, to, you know, the next record has to be bigger, the next thing. It's always about, like, the next thing has to be this.
Yes.
And
you have to outdo yourself.
Yeah. And you're constantly either comparing yourself, or I'm constantly comparing myself with, you know, what else is going on in the market, you know. And you have that fear of, like, you know, will I be left behind? Am I still relevant? Am I able to do this for, you know, a number of years? Being younger, I think the path was almost clear, because there was a certain amount of fearlessness, or, you know, and I didn't have an awareness of the different, I guess the different kind of barriers that would come up, you know, at a certain point in my life and my career. So over the past couple of years, I think the awareness of that almost restricted what I was willing to do. I got very fearful. I guess I've always been quite a melancholic person, but I used to think that was kind of cutesy, you know, when you're a teenager and you sort of say, yeah, I'm melancholic, you know, I listen to I listen to punk rock and stuff, and nobody really understands me, and I'll paint my fingernails. But there's more depth to that, I
Right.
get.
Sure.
So I guess I've always had a certain sense of that with me. Anyway, I've enjoyed my own company, but I think to a certain extent I've almost wallowed in that. And it took me to kind of put my hand up maybe about a year ago, and even to speak to myself and say, like, I don't feel 100% right all of the time, and then being able to put that into song it's always quite difficult, because I'm quite close to my family and friends and stuff, and if that's the first time that they're hearing things as well, it's almost like it's not intentionally a cry for help. It's more like I'm now in a position where I can talk about this,
Right.
and there's a certain strength in that, I guess, being able to formulate that into proper sentences without just fallen into some sort of hole, which I have done in the past. So, I mean, it's not to say that it's not difficult. There's some things that I've sang about and written down on paper that I didn't realize that I actually feel until I write them down. I had someone once said to me that, no matter what you're feeling, if you write it down, you'll never lie to yourself whenever you actually put it on paper, because it's harder to write something down that you don't feel. Because you actually have to, like,
Right.
if
Think
you
about
tell
it.
yourself, like, I'm okay, but to write down, I'm okay, it's a bit harder, I think, that if you're not, because you got to send the message and it's got to go through the hand. So I think for me to be able to get it from my body and my brain into my hand and onto paper, that was, for me, was a big step to be able to say, I'm dealing with, a lot of things right now. There are times when, I don't want to go out and perform live. There are times when even the idea of lifting a guitar, it gets quite weighty and quite heavy. And that's not to say that I don't love the job that I have, because I feel like I'm very lucky to be in this position. But I guess to be able to have the tools to deal with the likes of the pressure and all of that thing, and a lot of it's self pressure. I tend to have the weight of the world on my shoulders. Anyway, I've always been that type of kid. I mean, I was telling my cousin the other day, I was in the airport, and I'm traveling alone on this tour, and I was in the airport in Dublin, and I happened to see this girl who was traveling alone as well, and she looked quite young, and I started wondering, has she got anyone with her? Is she going to be okay? And I spent the whole time then worrying about her, and I was messaging him saying, I'm kind of worried about this girl. She's on her own. I don't know who she's with. I kind of hope that she's someone on the other side, because everyone else who was there getting on the flight, they all seem to be with someone. And I'm kind of used to traveling on my own, but I sort of directed all my focus toward this girl, thinking, I hope there's someone here on the other side for her. And I've always sort of been that person where I'll empathize and I'll sort of sympathize with other people, whether or not that means that I maybe don't self-care as much as what I should. I have no idea. I'm kind of dealing with it.
It's a great quality to have, to concern yourself with other people and their well-being in addition to your own. So that's
sometimes, I never want to be the person who goes over and starts, like, intruding on people's...
tell her to sit next to you. Say, there's going to be a seat here.
Yeah.
But we're glad you're here with us, and I appreciate the openness and the honesty.
Oh, thanks so much.
Because as you open up and honest, you discuss things that are very personal and sometimes painful and very private. You find you're not alone. You're not the only one. We're all dealing with things.
Yeah.
And so, and this can be, as I read somewhere, very cathartic for you, very therapeutic.
It can be,
writing songs and singing about some things that are maybe not easy to sit and discuss over coffee, but you can certainly put them into a song. Yeah,
that's the strange thing. I guess, being able to sing a line is a little bit different from being able to actually just say it to someone. So it's honestly, it's just a work in progress.
Yeah, well, we're glad to be able to share your work in progress.
Yeah.
Would you do another song for us?
Sure. I might move to the piano.
That would be wonderful. So, Ciaran, what's the name of this song?
This is called Blood Buzz Ohio. It's actually a cover song by a band called The National.
All right, beautiful.
Stand up straight at the foot of your love. I'll live lift my shirt up, stand up straight at the foot of your love. I'll lift my shirt up. I was carried to Ohio in a swarm of bees. I never married, but Ohio don't remember me. Lay my head on the hood of your car, I'll take it too far. Lay my head on the hood of your car, I'll take it too far. I still owe money to the money, to the money I owe. I never thought about love when I thought about home. I still owe money to the money, to the money I owe. And the floors are falling out from everybody I know. I'm on a blood buzz, yes I am. I'm on a blood buzz. I'm on a blood buzz. God, I'm on a blood buzz. I was carried to Ohio in a swarm of bees. I never married, but Ohio don't remember me. I still owe money to the money, to the money I owe. I never thought about love when I thought about home. I still owe money to the money, to the money I owe. The floors are falling out from everybody I know. I'm on a blood buzz, yes I am. I'm on a blood buzz. I'm on a blood buzz. God, I'm on a blood buzz.
Very nice. Very, very nice.
Thank you.
Now, I heard Ohio in the song. So
Yeah.
do you get a lot of inspiration from the United States, being that you're from Ireland? Do you write a lot of songs inspired by places or things or people here?
You know, I've kind of noticed a running trend, especially with the new record. I have I've a song called To Chicago, and I have another one called 2 Days in Savannah, and they're not about those places, you know, but I guess they're in some sort of historical way. There's always been a connection with Ireland and America. There's this sort of, from an Irish perspective, there's always been a sense of a kind of new beginning with America, and I guess that goes right back to, you know, to the days when the Irish were, you know, had emigrated in their you know, thousands toward America, and there's a certain amount of romance, I guess, with America, especially with being from Ireland. There's this weird, I guess that there's a strange connection with it. I'm not really sure why I always choose America. They always sound much better. I mean, if I tried to mention some places from Ireland, they just, you know, either I can't find the next line to rhyme with it, or it's unpronounceable, and people look at it on paper and think, I don't know how to say that.
That's right. I'm not going there.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't say that place. Which reminds me, the place in Ireland that you're from, I can't say the city.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a small village, but the way that I kind of break it down for people is it's in kind of two parts. So it's called Aha Gallon. So if you think of the 80s band, Aha, and then you think of the measure of water, gallon. So it's
Aha Gallon.
Aha Gallon, yeah, that's it.
Made it easy. So,
Right.
I mean, how far is that from Dublin? Because you made the album in Dublin, but how far is your city from the big city?
It's about an hour 30.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not so bad. I'm in a little pocket that's about 30 minutes from Belfast.
Mm-hmm.
And then further south.
A lot of musicians come from your city?
Yeah. There's, I think with like all Irish communities, there's always a sense of music. So, and it's definitely one of the most kind of fruitful expressions of art anyway in Ireland. I think it historically has been, but yeah, Belfast is such a small place, but it's such a diverse music community, and that ranges from, like, you know, your folk traditional styles, then you've got your alternative, you got your dance. I mean, you've got a bit of everything. It's just, it's such a small market as well. You know, you realize that it's a tiny pond with so many different types of fish and you know,
Right.
and colors of them and how they swim and stuff. That's a strange amount of analogies there. But yeah, it's a really great place. It's a bit of a melting pot, you know, and I think the desire is always to you know, bring the music elsewhere, because the market is so small.
What was the biggest surprise when you first came to America, the very first time, to perform, to visit, to whatever it was you did here? What was your biggest takeaway that you didn't expect?
I think I'm always quite surprised by, well, it's a kind of double thing. Or I'm one side, I'm always surprised at how developed America is from the rest of the world, and then, you know, on the flip side of that coin, you know, maybe two streets over, I'm so surprised at how underdeveloped it is, you know, in other ways.
Contrasts.
Yeah, and I guess that was the first time it was a very small thing that happened to me. I originally went over as like a holiday. Whenever I was 19 years old, I went to visit a cousin of mine in Boston, and I had to get a mobile phone when I was over, because I was going to be there for a couple of months, and she brought me to this phone store, and we were looking at the different mobiles, and I thought, is this 1989? These are the biggest mobile phones I've ever seen in my life. I was only missing the antenna. Yeah, I couldn't believe it, and I thought, has anyone not got the flip? Or, you know, I don't think we had got the touch screen at that stage, but there was definitely flip phones, but over here it was no go.
A little bit behind. Huh?
Yeah, and I couldn't believe that. But then, you know, culturally and stuff, it's, you know, there are certain parts of America that just, I'm just fascinated by the place. You know, I just think that it's so huge. I'm always kind of slightly surprised at the size of it, just the vastness, especially driving, because this is now the second time where I've been kind of behind the wheel, as it were. I just can't get over the amount of open space. It's insane.
Well, I imagine in Ireland they must have, I mean, I assumed it to be, you know, spread out, sprawling, lots of hills. And
yeah, but it's still quite small. I mean, you can drive Ireland in probably 6 hours, you know.
From one side to the other.
Yeah, north to south. I mean, you know, give or take, you know, because if you were on, you know, motorways the whole time,
Sure.
you'd be in the sea, you know, after.
Now, I'm interested to know how you made the transition. You had mentioned earlier that you grew up kind of influenced by punk, and this is certainly not punk that you're doing now. So how did you decide on the sound and style of music that you represent?
Well, it was almost a decision made for me by my hands, in that I realized that I could not play the electric guitar for the life of me. I really wanted to, but I just could not get the grasp of it. I would be, and I'm not trying to seem as if I'm self-deprecating, but I'm quite a messy player, and I guess I was. I really wanted to be, you know, Tom Morello. I wanted to be, you know, Rage Against the Machine. I wanted to be able to do all that stuff, but I didn't. I had like neither the patience or the natural ability to be able to become that person. So very quickly, I found solace, I guess, in the acoustic guitar, and I liked the idea of being able to be quiet, and and around that time, like I'd mentioned my brother-in-law earlier, but he was a huge influence on the type of music that that I listened to through my teen years. Because even though I was full of anarchy and punk rock and hip hop at one side, and and trying to reject everything, he would have thrust these songwriters from like the 60s, 70s, even 50s, and so he would have, dropped different CDs around in my house with little post-its like Hank Williams and Joni Mitchell and stuff like that, and just kind of said, listen to track 7, 9, 10, and then it would be like, and come back to me, and I will know if you haven't listened to these. And so it was almost like a minor threat. So I ended up, I had to do my homework on them, and I remember being so nervous because the first time I heard Neil Young, I just didn't get it. And I think I was 14 or 15, and I thought, what is this voice about? I don't understand. And I thought, how am I going to go back to my brother-in-law and say, I don't like this? So I just avoided him for weeks and listened to it all of the time. And eventually it clicked. I mean, it's like all those sort of great songwriters when you have a conversation with some people about like Townes Van Zandt, and some people say, he can't really sing or whatever, but there is just something that it either clicks with you and you get it, or you're never going to get it. So so yeah, I ended up just really falling in love with songwriters, and around that same time I've got a little bit more comfortable with the acoustic guitar, and then lyrics have always been my thing, I guess. From that point moving forward, I've always been a lyric guy. Where some people will wait until the beat drops, I'll be waiting until the next lyric hits. Which it's not great for parties, but
So would you say your greatest strength then is the songwriting? If you had to pick a part of the business that you liked most, would it be the singing? Would it be the songwriting process, or maybe the touring and performing? What do you like most about the business?
I love to write. I really like the challenge of being able to to take something. There's something quite I guess there's a certain sense of fulfillment in being able to take an idea and then to fill it out, and by the end of it, I guess it's like anything, it's a bit like Frankenstein, where you work on this thing and then by the end you have this, either a beautiful monster or a monster of some sort of shape. So every song, I guess, to a certain extent is an extension of what either how I am right at that present moment when I'm writing. So, or it's something that I've felt before. So there's some sort of connection with me, which I always love. So I cherish each song that I have, and I remember a lot of them. I don't remember all of them, but I like that process of being able to work something out to the best of my ability, and then I think being able to share it then is always the next best thing, where because there is no point in me coveting all of my songs and thinking I'm the greatest songwriter ever, but I'm not letting anyone hear it, So that, I guess that's the acid test is always when you release them to the public, and then I really enjoy when people talk to me about what the song means to them, because that's something that I think universally music has this strange power that it could be one person in a room writing a very personal thing, but someone from the other side of the world hears it, connects with it, they take it, a very personal kind of path with it, and then they use it in their life, which is, you don't know the other person, which I find completely amazing, because it's the equivalent of, you have a diary, I read your diary, and I think this is me. That's basically what it's like. So I guess it connects us all in a certain way. That's the sort of beautiful part of it, I think.
It is kind of mind-boggling when you think about, you write a song and it does transcend distance. I mean, and culture and whatnot. People of all ages and all cultures are listening to your music and touching people in many different ways. Would you do another song for us?
Sure. I'm going to move across to the guitar.
Come on back. And this one's called?
This is called Wells Tower Song. So it's an author. I read a lot of short stories whenever I was in the process of making the last record, and I came across this collection of stories by an author called Wells Tower, who I think that's the only collection that he's written. So I wrote this song about it.
And with that, the season draws a close. My lips are stained with fairy wells and alcohol, and I know you're closer than your name. Are we bound by love or the summer rain? I'll never know. Lassoed around the heart again. Let me go, let me go. Locked out of the apartment, taking pictures in the snow. Ooh, everything ravaged. Ooh, everything burned. Ooh, everything's damaged. Everything earned. Someone turn up the radio, playing my song. They're playing my song. Remember nights out there in the saddle. It's like the sky collapsed and it's exposed our every scar. Pulling hard on the reins again. Let me go. Locked out of the apartment. You're just a figment in the snow. Ooh, everything ravaged. Ooh, everything burned. Damaged. Everything earned. Ooh, everything ravaged. Ooh, everything burned. Ooh, everything's managed. Everything earned.
Nice. Very nice. Ciaran Lavery is our guest. And so how can people get in touch with you, and how can they buy the album and find you online and your tour schedule, websites, social media?
Everything's like everything else in the world, everything's online. So you can go to my website, which is ciaranlaverymusic.com, and all the tour dates are there, the social media links, all the Twitter, Instagram, all the overexposure and all of that stuff.
Well, we thank you for coming on the show. You got
Thanks
some, is that song lyrics, your artwork on your arms? Is that?
That's actually, that's the advice that my father gave me and my brother. That's his handwriting as well, actually.
Wow.
So I got him to write it down on a bit of paper, and then I went and got it tattooed, because it's something that he told us from we were children, that whenever we were stepping out into the world, to be your own man, as
Your
it
Own
were.
Man.
So
I like that.
Yeah, it's nice. So
And you got something a little longer on the other
Yes,
arm.
I have.
Oh my goodness, that's
this one. This is a
there's some kind of game going on there.
yeah. This is a part of a poem by Charles Bukowski called "Roll the Dice."
Okay.
So that's the first tattoo I got when I think it was about 20 or 21. But it's nice. It's sort of the whole poem is basically, you know, if you're gonna try, go all the way, you know, and it talks about all the different things that you need to give up in order to chase the goal that you ultimately want. So yeah.
Well, one more time, the website address for people around the world who
It's CiaranLaveryMusic.com.
All right. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Sweet Decay is the name of the new album number 3. Ciaran Lavery, our guest today. And this is Border Crossings. I'm Larry London.